how do you get the stakeholders to provide the more realistic time? And it is this is the last one. What do we do when it is a third party?
Aha. I'll start with the third party one. That's that. Maybe I didn't do it on purpose. Frankly, it was just lack of time. You know, what do I talk about in 40 minutes? Third party. If you subcontract stuff in your business, right, in new product development, right, you have testing done by some third party. You have a tooling done by some third party, whatever. Okay. Unfortunately, by default, you will not be able to apply the ideas of critical chain to them, right? Especially if you've already contracted with them, right? If you've already contracted with them, 6 months ago when you started developing the product, you said, how long will it take you to do the tooling for this? And they said, it would take me 6 weeks and it will cost you so much, okay? You can't go back to them now and say, hey, I've just listened to this crazy Englishman and he says you could give me some shorter time, okay? And whatever, right? It's too late, right? You have to live that lie with those people, okay? So essentially, unfortunately, most parts that are outside your organization and your span of control, you cannot apply properly the critical chain approach of having focused durations and pessimistic durations, right? It's too straightforward, too commonsensical to be able to be done in the contractual relationship with a third party. Okay, so the solution is, and we didn't give any examples today because we are often confronted with that, is to develop a partnership with your key suppliers. For instance, a mold manufacturer, which we did, had this situation. They developed products, but one of the key issues was getting the molds produced to make their product. And they developed a partnership with the mold manufacturer to turn what used to be a 5-week due date into 5 days. But then spent money, developed a long-term contract with them, and turned them into, they internalized them, if you wish, into their system and brought them in into a win-win relationship where they could act properly. Okay, so that's the third-party actors. It's a big problem. It can be a huge problem. Your critical chain can be essentially outside in third parties, right? All the people who have developed new products, I'll say it anecdotally because obviously it's a bit, I'd rather not be able to be pinned down on who I'm talking about. Imagine you decided you were going to have a toothbrush with artificial intelligence in it, right? Okay, but like a lot of companies back 30 years ago, you got rid of all your IT department because it wasn't in your core business, and you ended up with very, very weak internal IT capabilities, and you're basically subcontracting to third parties anything to do with IT programming and all that sort of stuff, right? So when you do your development of your new toothbrush with a lot of electronics and software in there, the critical chain, the longest part in the development, will be software development, and that will be done by some outside vendor, right? Who you can't control, and who can probably make more money the longer he takes than the shorter he takes, right? So you got stuck, but that's because you've ended up by not having the capabilities internally to develop your products, isn't it? That's the problem. So what was the other one? The one was how to convince people to give up their local safety. This is so easy. It makes me smile, but I know people get it, worry about it. I have never failed. We've done it 90 times. We have never had any problem having significantly shorter durations volunteered by all the actors of all the projects in every single time, right? That does not mean that they're giving all their local safeties back to you right from the word go, right? They're just giving you much shorter, much faster times, right? But they will probably be able to give you a lot more next year and the year after and whatever, right? Because in many ways, that question, right, once you've done it properly, you've trained everybody and said, okay, guy, can you tell me what is your focus duration in perfect working conditions, no multitasking, complete kit, no disruptions, you don't have to go to any stupid meetings, you can be late with your emails, if you just had to do this work in perfect conditions, how long would it take? The guy is thinking, do I trust him to be able to give me that environment or not? And he's never going to believe you full 100%, is he? So he's keeping some back, one. And two, he doesn't have a clue, right? People have been working in this multitasking mad environment for so long, they don't know how long it actually takes to do it in good working conditions anymore, right? So they're not lying to you, they just don't have a clue, right? Let me give you one obvious example. that will lighten up why this is a strange conversation to have, right? You're in pharmaceutical drug development, and at one stage to help determine what the validity of your product, the shelf life of your product is going to be, you're going to have to test the stability of the drug you've developed. So you put it in a controlled environment, a fridge or whatever, at this temperature, and you leave it there for, depending on your country and legislation, 6 months, maybe 12 months, and then you take it out and see if it's stable, if it's still in good shape, right? And that will enable you to confirm or not what your shelf life will be for your product, right? Fine. You do that. You cannot change the duration of those 6 months or those 12 months because that's imposed by your regulations, right? So that's not going to change, right? But the time it takes to write up the report at the end to say, yeah, this is stable or no, it's not. If we look in people's scheduling system, we see they've got 2 weeks there, or for instance, right? We say, hey, wait a second. How many pages is that? Oh, it's 5 pages. What kind of pages? Oh, it's just pro forma. We just have to print out what comes out of the machine. Let's say, that's the grant, that's the settings, that's the temperature, that's the whatever. Just a bunch of reports that come out of the computer. So how long would it take you to do focus? Oh, I don't know, about a couple of hours. So a thing that is scheduled for 2 weeks is taking a couple of hours, okay? But then at least they can say how long it takes to do 2 hours. But let me give you another example from in my work where I did not know how long it took to do something because I hadn't done it in a focused duration. One of our things we have to do as a consulting firm is to write a proposal. Sometimes a big hairy proposal for something that's quite complicated, and a transformation of a whole complex portfolio with several sites, whatever. How long is it going to take me to write the proposal? Okay, I didn't know at first. I knew that between the moment I started and when I'm finished, it could take me a week. Okay, but how many hours of focus duration? And I had to get that personal hygiene to write it in a focus duration before I worked it out. And now I know quite well whether this is a 5-hour proposal, a 10-hour proposal, or a 15-hour proposal to write. Right? I didn't know that before because it was taking 1 week or 2 weeks or 3 weeks. Okay, so please don't think people are hiding things. Most of them just don't know because they've never worked in a healthy environment. Okay, so please understand, if you do it properly, one, they're judging how much they trust you as a manager, and will you be given the environment they're talking about where you're allowed to stay focused. And two, don't worry about finding the right number. That'll take you years, right? You'll get better and better at it. But you don't have to find the right number from the word go. You just have to have a much better number than what you're using today, right? So if that task there right now says 6 weeks, and they say, I can do it in 2 weeks, go with the 2 weeks, that's fine. They went from 9 to 2, that's fantastic. In 3 years' time, both of you can have a conversation and work out why that was in fact only 6 days, right? But it doesn't matter. You're already getting much faster. Don't worry about those numbers. We are not turning project management into an exact science where we know everything, right? We are learning to live better with uncertainty. That's what critical change is all about, right? It's being explicit and honest about uncertainty. And when you do that, you get the better numbers. You don't get the 12.4 days as a correct answer. That doesn't exist, right?